We all want to own a home. It is the dream we are told to strive for, the American dream. On television, on the radio, everywhere we went, mortgage companies promised to make the American dream our reality. Many of us believed them and took their loans to finally have a home for our families. But within months, owning that home became a nightmare we could no longer afford, and our dream home was on the auction block.
During the time that the home was sold, was a couple days prior to my having a biopsy. And to come home and find out that our home was sold when we were assured that it was not going to happen was devastating. And it basically left a hole in our lives. It was almost a death.
It's really a traumatic thing to be in a house for such as us. 20 years, and because of lack of process or follow-up, to almost lose your home.
It's always shocking to see how tied people are to the place they call home, and what they're willing to do, the adjustments they're willing to make just to stay there.
It is estimated that 750,000 Californians will lose their homes because of a conspiracy of greed in the mortgage industry. The higher the price of our homes, the higher our interest rates, the higher our fees, the more money was put in the hands of brokers, realtors, lenders, Wall Street, and various other corporations, while no one was watching.
We're seeing all those loans that were made that probably should never have been made, which were pushed onto borrowers of color, neighborhoods of color in California and elsewhere. They're now turning up in these default numbers, foreclosure numbers.
I felt confident that this was a reputable company that I was dealing with, and that they weren't going to flat out lie to me about what I could do and what I couldn't do. And I was thinking, well, if he thought that I couldn't work with this individual, he should have said, Ms. Guillory, there's no way I could offer you a loan without a prepayment penalty. Let's shake hands, let's be on our way. But he did not do that.
I've been in the industry for over 15 years, so I've seen the highs and lows, and I've seen what's happened. This all came about because there was a greedy market. There was people in positions, whether they be the lenders, the account reps, the escrow companies, the title companies, the appraisers. It was all just a matter of greed.
The Federal Reserve could have stopped the predatory mortgage lending that created this housing crisis. For the last decade, the California Reinvestment Coalition and other community groups have warned the Federal Reserve and regulators about the dangers of subprime lending. But the Federal Reserve only cared about high corporate profits and not Americans' dreams of homeownership.
Well, I was aware a lot of these practices were going on. I had no notion of how significant they had become until very late. I didn't really get it until very late in 2005 and 2006.
Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, who was hailed as an economic guru, now claims that he did not understand the dangers of subprime lending until it was too late. But in 2001, Edward Gramlich, who was then a Federal Reserve governor, warned that subprime mortgage lending was luring many people into risky mortgages they could not afford. When Gramlich asked for an investigation, Greenspan stopped it.
The Federal Reserve declined to take even minimal steps to curb the deceptive practices and outright fraud taking place in the subprime lending market as it grew from virtual non-existence a decade ago to a $625 billion industry. If the Federal Reserve continues to act as the primary watchdog over financial crises in the contemporary economy, then we must be assured that it will not assume a stance of detachment and negligence when the stakes for American consumers are high.
Federal and state regulators are allowing mortgage companies to take the homes of borrowers who were sold predatory loans. These loans could be fixed to avoid foreclosure, but mortgage companies are not helping borrowers.
Banks such as Countrywide, Bank of America, ASC, which is a servicer, Litton, have all been unwilling to work with our clients to try to find a workout that is going to be reasonable for the type of income that they have coming in on a monthly basis.
It's very humbling when you have the money to pay and you're willing to pay, and companies are telling you, we'll call you back, yet your home will be sold in the next 28 days.
And each time we've made the call to them, but no return phone call. And each time it's a different person, a different service rep, which I understand. But then the service rep says there's a different workout agent that's been assigned to your case now. I'll send that person an email and have that person call you. No one ever calls.
And I don't know if they really understand. I really don't know if Countrywide or Bank of America really understands what they're doing to people's lives.
How do we sleep at night? How do we get by knowing that people are that much at risk of failure? And think then that it doesn't touch us. The biggest shock of all is that we don't seem to have a concern for our brother, our sister, our family, our neighbor, our relative. I don't have to know you to care about you.
Not only are families losing their homes, neighborhoods are damaged, cities are going bankrupt, children are being forced to leave their schools, and small businesses are closing every day. It's a disaster that affects us all.
There's people like me that need help, and we need help immediately because we have neighborhoods that are so swiftly going down. And when I drive through the neighborhoods, I see 3 houses empty on one side. You look on the other street, you got 2 houses empty on the other side. And what also I know that's going to happen, that's going to be a playground for disaster.
Back in September 11, the airport was closed, the federal building were blockaded. But any business that affected by this blockade and affected by the September 9/11 federal regulations, if their business revenue were down for 30%, they are qualified for disaster loan. I think we need a disaster loan similar to that because many of the business now see their revenue down more than 50%, not 30, 50%.
Biggest challenges remaining are to get more aggressive loan modifications happening for families so that home retention happens. Second biggest challenge I'd say that remains is getting the industry to understand that they made some mistakes along the way so that we don't see foreclosures happen again. And if they never own up to it with each of us, they need to own it internally so that they can make new products, new practices, new policies that work for families throughout the country.
In the time you've spent watching this, 22 California families have lost their homes. The California legislature has only passed one meaningful bill that addresses the foreclosure crisis. Much more needs to be done. Contact your California legislators. Tell them to pass bills to stop foreclosures, fight predatory lending, and give more money to mortgage counseling and nonprofit legal services. The governor also can play a major role in solving this crisis. Call Governor Schwarzenegger and urge him to make mortgage companies work with borrowers to keep them in their homes. Don't let our elected officials sleep through the nightmare of our disappearing neighborhoods. For updates on the impact of California's foreclosure crisis and to help stop it, visit www.calreinvest.org.